Hello, everybody. We'll wait for some more people to jump in here. Okay. So, our webinar today is titled Volunteering, a Great Way to Start. So, please remember that Family Matters PTIC is unable to offer CEUs for training participants. Certifications of attendance can be requested by contacting myself after the presentation today. Family Matters is not a legal service and it cannot provide legal advice or legal representation of any kind. Information received from us should not be intended as a legal advice and should not be used or as a substitution for legal advice. We are also funded partially under the U.S. Department of Education. The webinar today is being recorded and the recording will be available on our website after the presentation. Please use the chat box to state your name and your title or organization. So if you are Abby Mars, you would put Abby Mars, Family Matters PTIC, or in my case, Abby Mars Parent. Please use the Q&A box to ask questions. We will address these questions at the end of the presentation, and please help us by completing the brief survey you will receive following the presentation today. A copy of this presentation and slide will be emailed out following the presentation. Liz is also sharing a link in the chat that has our shared Google Drive folder with a copy of today's slides and other resources. Family Matters is first an educational advocacy helpline. So individuals, self-advocates, parents, caregivers, and professionals call us with questions regarding special education services in the state of Illinois. We serve 94 counties in the state outside the Chicago area. We also hold the entire state's educational surrogate parent training program. So we help individuals in our state to become a advocate for children who are within the care of DCFS and not in a foster home. So if you're interested in learning more about that program, you can find more information about it on our website. We are always needing volunteers for our educational surrogate parent program. We also hold a yearly COMPASS program. COMPASS stands for coaching others and mentoring parents about school services. It's a 10-session advocacy program in which you are trained to understand your rights as a parent, caregiver, or professional to help advocate for your student. We also do a yearly DAISY data educational program, and it shows you great ways to collect data about your student's educational plan and be able to chart progress. Our DAISY series is getting ready to launch in August, so there's more information about it at the end of this presentation, but please make sure you're checking our website for more information. We do special education advocacy trainings, much like this one today. We also are very fortunate to have 2 self-advocates that write a monthly blog for us. You can find that information on our Family Matters page. Zoe and Bridget always have great content to share. We release a quarterly newsletter and then a quarterly transition news blast, which is much like a newsletter, but it's based around transition services and success stories in our state. And we started in April of this year launching a monthly podcast. So you can listen to our podcast on any podcasting platform, and we also share that on our website monthly. Family Matters employs 2 full-time educational support coaches that provide quality presentations for caregivers, self-advocates, and professionals. We use the term self-advocates to identify students or adults with disabilities that have aged out of school services. Professionals, as in you're in a professional role working with those self-advocates or individuals with disabilities, and of course caregivers like parents, guardians, grandparents, family members. So today on our agenda, we're going to talk about why should I volunteer? Why is it a good idea to volunteer? Where should I volunteer? That's the next question. Who should I tell about my volunteering time and what resources might assist me? So volunteering. So what volunteer experiences have you already had? Let's think about that while I'm talking. So as your student approaches high school, there will be lots of conversations about their future. Their teachers, guidance counselors, and family members begin to really discuss what's going to happen to my student in their future as an adult. Most students learn about options and consequences and skill building through a process that we call soft skills. But for our students that have a disability, sometimes those soft skills are hard to obtain, they're hard to grasp. So we help these students, especially these students that have an IEP. When a student has an IEP and they are around the age of 14, we start to assess them and build what we call a transition plan. Uh, this transition plan really helps the student to learn these soft skills like communicating their needs, learning cause and effect, team building skills. Um, these soft skills are vital to help them achieve goals in the adult world. These skills can be hard to learn, and that's why we developed the special education transition plan for students. So, if your student has an IEP, you've heard a lot about transition plans. Now, if your student doesn't have an IEP and instead has the support of a 504 plan, this webinar is still going to be helpful for you to learn about volunteering and what it can help the student to do in the future. But for students that specifically have an IEP, there's a whole team surrounding them, helping them to build their transition plan. Their team and the student work together to write goals, commit to services, and add accommodations to prepare the student for independent life. They prepare by doing assessments to find out what the student wants, things they are good at, and things that they need to work on. Transition goals are written in the areas of independent living, post-education, and employment. Now let's really talk about that employment part of our transition plan. Not everyone's first job is their forever job. Most people do not, their first job is not their forever job. In fact, many people have lots of jobs before they find out exactly what they want to do, and especially what they love to do. But one thing is true, we all have to earn money in some way to function as an adult. For students with disabilities, finding a job can be difficult. In fact, in 2023, the employment rate for people with disabilities was 22.5%. Now, this is actually rose a great deal since 2017 when we started to log this data. But working age disabled women and men have a significantly lower employment rate than their peers that don't have disabilities. Unfortunately, individuals that have disabilities have to work harder to get and maintain a job. Many companies hiring for positions see the label and not the able of the individual. So it's our job to help our students prepare and have some skills to find and get to these jobs outside of high school. So let's talk about some ways that we can start to find these employment opportunities for our students. So I'm all about lists. So that's what we need to start with. We need to start by asking some questions and making some observations. We need to find out what our students' interests are and what they're good at. So we are starting there. We're not starting with what we think may be available to the student. We are going to ask our student what you like and what you may want to do. We also need to do some research and find out what businesses and companies in your area hire students. Not hire individuals with disabilities, but hire students. So usually students under the age of 18 that may be committed to going to school for 6 to 7 hours a day. That's what I'm talking about. So, this way we can make a list of jobs in our area that might be available for our students. So, for example, if your town has a big box store like Walmart or a fast food restaurant like McDonald's, we know that both of these companies hire students. They hire students under the age of 18 or at least students that are committed to being in school all day, opposed to maybe a local factory that would not hire a student for lots of different reasons. For companies that hire students, we need to look at what types of jobs are obtainable for the student. So, could they be a cashier, maybe wash a car or bag groceries? Are there positions in that company that the student would not be eligible for? Not because of the support needs they may need, but for example, in Walmart, you can't sell alcohol at a cashier register without being 21 or older. Same way in a restaurant, you can't be over a certain age and serve alcohol. So those jobs wouldn't be available to any student, not just a student with a disability, but any student. So we know we can take those jobs off the table. Same way with driving heavy machinery, driving an Uber, those things you have to be over a certain age to do, no matter what support needs you may have. So let's go back to our list. Currently, we have a list of employers in our community that hire students. Of those list of employers, we have a list of jobs within those companies that students are allowed to do. So that's what our list looks like right now. So we compare this list to our students' strengths and struggles through all those observations that we've done, and we determine what kind of job would be good for our student. So, for example, if our student struggles to count money, we know a job as a cashier might not be a good starting off place for them. But there another position within that type of a store environment that our student has expressed they're interested in working at, and we've looked at their strengths and their concerns and their strengths and their needs that they could do instead and maybe work up to the position of a cashier. To do this, you may need to research exactly what these companies' positions entail. You can use the internet to help you do this. You can Google search a job description. So you can Google search animal trainer to see exactly what an animal trainer would do, or you can Google search shop attendant to see what a shop attendant would do. There's also you can look up area jobs. I'm sorry. You can also look up area jobs for the job title is like on Indeed. So I could put a job search into Indeed with that job title, and it will tell some of those jobs. Those companies really release a really detailed job description of what you would be entitled would be expected to do. Or I found that Grammarly has a job description generator. So Grammarly is a great resource when you're putting together a professional looking document of some kind. And so they've actually built into their system when you're building your resume how you can put your job in there and then the job description, and it helps you to really understand what that job is and put things into um, um, a way to present that to people. So those are some great ways that you, as you're supporting your student, to find out what may be a good idea for your student job wise and describe descriptions to them to use those supports like Indeed, Grammarly, and or just an easy Google search. Sometimes we know, right? Sometimes we know. I know what a cashier does. Well, I think I might know what a cashier was. I was a cashier 15 years ago, but it might have changed a little bit. So when I use these supports like Google or Grammarly or Indeed, it helps really lay it out. And there might be things that in my mind I didn't struggle with understanding but may need to be broken down differently for a student. So after finalizing the job list and gathering the job descriptions, we're going to present these options to our student. So then after we have presented this job list to our students, so we're showing them that these 4 companies in our town will hire students. These are the jobs within the company that you would be eligible, that a student your age would be eligible to apply for. And these are what the job descriptions are. We're going to present these to our student. And then our student can make decisions on what they may be interested to do. Now, depending on the support needs of your student, they may be non speaking, they may struggle with an intellectual disability. We may need to help them in this area. It's all individualized per our student at this point, okay? But after our student has showed some interest in these different areas, we're going to initiate some job shadowing. So, job shadowing will help the student to know exactly what to expect when they work in that position. For example, maybe you're working with a student who has picked a job working in a hair salon, very interested in that. The position at that hair salon is a cleaner. Okay, so when I hear hair salon, I automatically think a hairstylist works there, someone that cuts and dyes hair and has all these fun things that they do. Your student may think that as well and not really differentiate between the cleaner or the receptionist position or the hairstylist position. Now, we've showed the student that you're not eligible to be a hairstylist because you have to have licensure and work experience and all these things, but they still may struggle with that separation. If I'm working at a hair salon, I do hair, right? When we job shadow, they're going to so now this doesn't necessarily have to be an opening at this position. You're just showing at this point what companies in your area will hire students and what those job descriptions look like, and now your students picked out. But when they job shadow, they get to see it. So your student would then see the current cleaner in that position and what their role is in that company, and that you really aren't doing hair. Okay, you aren't coloring hair, you aren't cutting it, you aren't doing all these things. You're cleaning the salon, or you're answering the phone, or you're washing towels. Like your student will have a chance to see. And then from seeing that experience with the job shadowing, they can say, yes, this is something that I think I would really want to do. And then you can also see from watching the current position. So you're in the background watching your student job shadow, the areas in this job that your student may have some struggles. and the areas of this job in which the student may have some strength. That way, you, as either the professional or caregiver in the role of supporting your student, can help devise a list of if my student applies for this job, these are the supports they may need. So lots and lots of lists, right? Let's recap. We've made lots of lists here. Our current list right now is that we have a list of jobs or of companies within our area that will hire students. From that list, we have found jobs within those companies that are suitable for a student in that age range due to lots of different reasons, whether it be licensures, work experience, all the things, in age limits. And then from that list, we made job descriptions. Our student chose what jobs they were interested in, right? And then we moved on to job shadowing, and now we have a good form list of jobs that our student may be interested in and applying for. Those were lots of steps. Those were lots of steps that not every student needs help doing. But for students with disabilities, we need to individualize it and really help break down those soft skills. All right? So we are going to work with our current list. Lots of lists here, you guys. Now, are we ready to apply? Are we ready to fill out a job application? Sometimes yes, but a lot of employers always like to have some work experience. This is always really hard for everybody to understand that I'm applying for a job here, and someone with work experience is going to be picked over the top of me, right? It's just how it goes. And so, how do we get work experience for our students? They've never worked anywhere before. Well, volunteering is a great option. Volunteering is a great option for any student, whether they have the need of an IEP or a 504 plan or they have no disability at all. It's a great way to build some job skills. So, many organizations cannot operate without the support of volunteers. Organizations like food pantries, animal shelters, and public services need the help of volunteers. Volunteering is a great way to learn important job skills. So, just not how to do the job, but how to work with coworkers, how to work with the public, how to organize and make lists and time management. Volunteering is a great way to start with that. It's most usually all the time, sometimes stipends can be involved, a non paid position, but you're still expected to do the work because if you don't do the work, the job doesn't get done. So, for example, if I work at a food pantry and learn how to store food, organize shelves, sort food, work with customers, and take direction, it's a great way for a student to learn skills to work in a grocery store or Dollar General or any type of store. Learning how to grow vegetables or maintain a lawn at a public park or community garden can teach a student some lawn care skills. Then they could maybe possibly apply for a job at a landscaping company. Volunteering in a church nursery or preschool classroom can help a student work on learning the aspects of childcare, maybe set them up for babysitting at some point. It's just great ways to learn skills. Keep in mind also that many high schools in Illinois require a set amount of service hours to graduate. So not only can you volunteering help you build skills, but it can also help you fulfill graduation requirements. To see what your school district may require, just look at your school's handbook. So, for example, the district that my children reside in requires 10 hours a year for service. Chicago Public Schools, you're not required since 2020, but you are very much encouraged to do that. Lockport Township High School, I just pulled different schools, requires 40 hours before you can graduate. So schools recognize the value of all volunteering for students. Consider how volunteering experiences can and should be supported by your IEP plan. Volunteering also pays off. Volunteering work is often just as valuable and important for your career as paid work. Listing volunteering work on your resume can demonstrate to potential employers that you are community minded, experienced in working with the people with diverse backgrounds, and have a range of transferable skills. Some of my best references that I put on job applications or resumes came from my volunteer positions. Because when you're committed to volunteering, you're proving that you're willing to commit to something without you're not gaining anything in the way of money, right? And when you are really committed to that, those companies that you're applying for can see that you are committed to be in that position and have that workload. Not to mention, sometimes volunteering can even lead to direct employment. My friend Zoe volunteered for a number of years at her local library. before applying for a position. Through volunteering through the library, she was able to get a good feel for her work ethic and commitment, and then the local library offered her a paid position. So sometimes volunteering can and help you work into a paid position role. You already have the work experience, you already understand the company and how it works, and then it can lead into. So sometimes finding volunteer positions may be hard. Maybe you live in a very big community and there's lots of different options. Maybe you live in a smaller community and you don't know what options are out there. Using resources like social media, newspaper, your city's chamber of commerce, or this great resource volunteermatch.org can help you find local organizations that may need help. And I noticed when I clicked on this volunteermatch.org and put in my local where I live at, not only was the description of the volunteer, the company needing the volunteer there was also a job description with it. So these companies have found out I need someone that can bag groceries. So if I put the description on there and someone that may be interested in volunteering, they would understand what that meant. So they've caught on too that they really need to be description. Don't be afraid to think outside the box either. Sometimes hospitals, nursing home often need people to spend time with their patients. Animal shelters always need help to provide companionship to animals as well. So don't just think about your Catholic charities, your food pantry options, think outside the box. Like what other companies may need help? What jobs within that volunteer organization could help me build skills in an area that I'm interested? Don't forget, add your volunteer work to your resume, job applications, and college applications. Companies love to see that you're committed to helping your community. So sample statements for resumes like committed and passionate volunteer for over 3 years of service, dedicated volunteer to demonstrate history of working for a nonprofit sector. These are all great things. And I can tell you personally, my role in scouting, I've been part of scouting for 10 and a half years now, directly helped me get this job that I'm in right now. Not because Family Matters is connected to scouting in a way, but when my employer looked at my resume and saw that I was committed, these are the things I did with youth within scouting, these are the training that I've had to be that volunteer, it carried over. So it can directly affect your prospects for future employment. It's also a good idea to get reports from the organization's leader or the person that's over your department about how things are going for your job. So they could write reports on what ways you can improve, what things you can do, what things that you do are great, things that these assessments can even be included in your student's transition plan. So it's great to have those conversations. You as a parent or caregiver can help the lead to write those reports. You as a professional working with a student could also ask the lead of this. I've noticed that when transition coordinators, when teachers get involved in helping with different organizations for their students to volunteer there, they start to see how beneficial it is for their assessments as well. So I might have a teacher that they have a student that's really interested in working at Walmart and they reach out to their local food pantry. Well, then when student starts volunteering there, other students start volunteering there, and then both parties are learning great skills and benefiting each other. So make sure you review your volunteer related transition plan goals. So you can write transition goals that surround your volunteer work. So, for example, as part of transition activities, Kate will participate in 3 short-term volunteer placements involving animals. Kate must be interested in animals, right? She can try to volunteer at her zoo, veterinary office, or even PetSmart over the next few months. And then we can write reports about how she's volunteering, which areas. So those are jobs working with animals, but in different varieties of positions, right? So then Kate, who has expressed to her transition coordinator that I want to maybe be a zookeeper, or I might want to be a veterinarian. This shows that Kate has an interest working with animals. We know that from that statement that Kate has made. But we're showing her different areas of working with animals. So not just in the veterinarian office, we're also seeing here's a zoo. This is what you would do if you worked at a zoo. Here's PetSmart. This is what you do if you work at PetSmart. So it's a way for our students then to realize their own strengths and their own concerns and their own struggles, and then build again those soft skills, guys, of knowing this is what I want to do. So here's some great resources I've included today. Indeed is a great resource, you guys. American Corps of Engineers also has a very good document about volunteering with paths to employment. And then I also put another one in here. So these are some great resources that are going to be available in that shared drive that Liz has shared in the chat. Remember that Family Matters serves 94 counties in the state of Illinois outside the Chicago area. If you are within our service area and have more questions related to today's presentation, your child's personalized plan, or their transition services, please reach out to our office. If you have those same questions but live within the Chicago region, you're going to reach out to FRCD, which is our sister organization that covers that corner of the state. So make sure that if you have any questions, you can reach out to us for sure. And at this time, I'm going to stop the recording of the presentation.